There is a quiet moment that almost every English learner knows. You are sitting somewhere simple. Maybe on a bus, maybe in your room, maybe outside watching people pass by. You hear English, real English, fast, natural, alive. And for a second, it feels like a wall. The words don't stay. They slip. They disappear before you can catch them. And then a thought comes. Will I ever understand this? Today, we begin a different kind of journey. Not just learning English, but learning how to hear it, feel it, and live inside it. This is not a class. This is a story. Your story. And it begins right now. Lesson 1. You wake up early. The world is quiet. You whisper one sentence, slowly, clearly. I am learning English. You hear your own voice. This is your first step. Listening begins not with others, but with yourself. Lesson 2. You sit by a window. You hear birds, wind, a passing car. Listening is already inside you. English listening is not new. It is just another sound your brain will learn to recognize. Lesson 3. You hear a simple phrase. How are you? At first it feels fast, but then you slow it down in your mind. How are you? Suddenly it becomes clear. Listening is not speed. Listening is patience. Lesson 4. You repeat softly. I am fine. You hear the rhythm. English has music. If you listen for music, not just words, your understanding grows deeper. Lesson 5. You hear two people talking. You don't understand everything. That's okay. You catch one word, then another. Listening is like collecting small pieces, not everything at once. Lesson 6. You sit again. This time, you close your eyes. You listen carefully to a short sentence. I like coffee. You imagine coffee. You smell it. You see it. Listening becomes stronger when you connect words to real life. Lesson 7. You notice something important. When you relax, you understand more. When you feel stress, words disappear. So today, you decide, no pressure, just listening. Lesson 8. You hear, where are you going? It sounds long, but you break it into parts. Where are you going? Step by step, it becomes easy. Lesson 9. You start to trust your ears. Even if you don't understand everything, your brain is learning quietly. Growth is happening, even in silence. Lesson 10. You remember your first day. You understood nothing. Today you understand something. That something is powerful. That something is progress. Lesson 11. You listen to a simple story. A boy walks to a store. You imagine his steps, the road, the sky. Listening becomes a picture in your mind. Lesson 12. You hear the same story again. This time, more words make sense. Repetition is not boring. Repetition is growth. Lesson 13. You smile. You understood a full sentence without stopping. It felt natural. This is how fluency begins. Quietly, gently. Lesson 14. You listen to a voice with a different accent. At first, it feels strange, but you stay calm. English has many voices. You will learn them all. Lesson 15. You sit with a notebook. You don't write everything. You write only what you hear clearly. This builds confidence. Lesson 16. You hear, I want to learn. That sentence becomes your truth, not just words, but a promise. Lesson 17. You realize something powerful. You don't need to understand 100%. Even 50% can tell a story. Lesson 18. You listen while walking. English becomes part of your life, not just study time. Lesson 19. You listen while doing simple work. Cooking, cleaning, living. English is now everywhere. Lesson 20. You hear laughter in a conversation. You don't understand every word, but you feel the emotion. Listening is also feeling. Lesson 20. You hear laughter in a conversation. You don't understand every word, but you feel the emotion. Listening is also feeling. Lesson 21. You begin to notice patterns. Common words repeat again and again. Your brain starts predicting. Lesson 22. You hear, let's go. Short, simple, powerful. English doesn't need to be complicated. Lesson 23. You slow down difficult audio. You give yourself time. Learning is not a race. Lesson 24. You listen to the same voice daily. It becomes familiar. Comfort helps understanding. Lesson 25. Halfway through your journey, something changes. You are no longer afraid of English. You are curious. Lesson 26. You hear longer sentences now. You don't panic. You breathe and listen. Lesson 27. You start answering in your mind. Listening becomes conversation. Lesson 28. You hear mistakes in your own understanding. That's not failure. That's learning. Lesson 29. You listen to real conversations again. This time, you catch more than before. Progress feels real. Lesson 30. You remember the wall from the beginning. It is no longer a wall. It is a door. Lesson 31. You step into new content, new voices, new topics. Your listening expands. Lesson 32. You trust your instincts. Sometimes you understand without translating. Lesson 33. You enjoy the sound of English. Not just meaning, but beauty. Lesson 34. You listen daily. Even 5 minutes matters. Consistency builds skill. Lesson 35. You hear a fast speaker. You don't stop. You keep listening. Courage grows. Lesson 36. You realize you are not the same learner anymore. Lesson 37. You help another learner. Teaching improves your listening. Lesson 38. You feel proud. Not because you are perfect, but because you didn't quit. Lesson 39. You listen to stories again. This time, you feel them deeply. Lesson 40. You understand jokes. Small ones, but real ones. Lesson 41. You think in English sounds, not just words. Lesson 42. You notice your confidence outside learning too. Lesson 43. You hear English, and it stays. Lesson 44. You realize something powerful. Listening is no longer difficult. It is natural. Lesson 45. You look back at Lesson 1. That quiet voice. I am learning English. Now it sounds stronger. Lesson 46. You understand conversations in daily life situations. Lesson 47. You feel ready for more. Not fear, but excitement. Lesson 48. You continue listening, because now you enjoy it. Lesson 49. You know your journey is not over. It is just beginning. Lesson 50. You sit again, just like the beginning. But everything is different now. You hear English, and you understand. Not perfectly, but truly. So here you are. Not at the end, but at a powerful beginning. You didn't just learn English listening. You changed the way you see learning. You proved that slow steps create strong results. Now I want you to do something simple, but powerful. Tomorrow, listen again, not because you have to, but because you can. And one day, without even noticing, English will no longer feel like a foreign sound. Lesson 51. You wake up early. The world is still quiet, almost like it is waiting for you to begin. There is no pressure here, no classroom noise, no one watching you. Just you and a small decision. You sit up, take a slow breath, and say softly, I am learning English. At first, it may feel simple, maybe even too simple. But something important is happening. You are not just speaking. You are listening to yourself. Your ears are beginning to recognize the shape of English, the rhythm, the spacing between words. This is where real listening begins. Not outside, but inside you. Many learners believe listening means understanding others immediately. But the truth is, your brain needs a starting point. When you hear your own voice, slowly and clearly, your brain builds a foundation. It starts connecting sound to meaning in a safe and controlled way. Say it again. I am learning English. This time, listen more carefully. Notice how learning flows into English. Notice the softness of the sound. Let it stay in your mind for a moment. This is your first step. Not fast, not perfect, but real. And every strong listener you will ever meet started exactly like this. Lesson 52. You move closer to a window. Outside, life is beginning. Maybe you hear birds calling to each other. Maybe a motorcycle passes. Maybe someone is talking far away. None of these sounds are difficult for you. You don't translate them. You don't study them. You simply understand them. This is something powerful to realize. Your brain already knows how to listen. Listening is not a new skill. It is something you have been doing your entire life. English is just a new type of sound entering a system that already works. Now imagine this. English is not a subject. It is just another sound in your world, like the wind or voices around you. When you remove fear, English becomes lighter, easier, more natural. Say a simple phrase again. Hello? Listen to it like it is just another sound, not a test. Repeat it slowly. Let it feel normal. Then say, how are you? Don't rush. Let each word exist clearly. When you treat English like something natural, your brain stops resisting it. It begins accepting it. And that is when real learning starts to happen. Not through force, but through familiarity. Today, you are not studying English. You are allowing it to become part of your environment. And that changes everything. Lesson 53. You hear a simple question. How are you? The first time it feels fast. Maybe the words blend together. How are you? It almost sounds like one long sound instead of 3 separate words. This is where many learners feel stuck. But instead of feeling frustrated, you try something different. You slow it down in your mind. How are you? Suddenly, the sentence becomes clear. This is the secret. English in real life is fast. But your learning process does not have to be. You are allowed to slow everything down. In fact, you should. When you break sentences into smaller pieces, your brain can process each part more easily. Now listen again, but this time, imagine the rhythm. English has a natural beat, like music. How are you? Notice how the voice rises slightly at the end. That's not grammar from a book. That's real spoken English. Repeat it softly. Then answer, I am fine. Listen to your own answer. Feel the calm, steady rhythm. You are not just learning words. You are learning how English moves. And once you understand the movement, the speed will never scare you again. Lesson 54. You say, I am fine. It's a short sentence, but today you decide to listen deeper. Not just to the words, but to the feeling inside them. Say it slowly. I am fine. Notice how each word has space. Now say it again, a little more naturally. I am fine. The words begin to connect. The rhythm becomes smoother. English is not just a language. It is sound shaped by emotion. When someone says, I am fine, it can mean many things. It can sound happy, tired, excited, or even sad. Listening is not only about understanding words. It is about understanding tone. Close your eyes for a moment and say it in different ways. Say it like you are happy. Say it like you are tired. Say it like you are unsure. Now listen to the difference. This is how real conversations work. When you train your ears to hear emotion, your understanding becomes deeper than vocabulary. You begin to connect with people, not just sentences. This is the moment where listening becomes alive. Not robotic, not mechanical, but human. And that is the kind of English that stays with you. Lesson 55. You hear two people talking nearby. Their conversation is natural, fast, and continuous. At first, it feels overwhelming. You don't understand everything. Maybe you only catch a word here and there. But today, you don't panic. You don't try to force yourself to understand every sentence. Instead, you relax and listen differently. You catch one word, then another. Maybe you hear store, then later, then okay. These are small pieces, but they are enough to create meaning. Your brain begins to connect them like a puzzle. This is a powerful shift. Listening is not about perfection. It is about collecting clues. Even native speakers don't focus on every single word. They understand the general idea. And now, so are you. Stay with the conversation. Let it flow. Don't stop when you miss something. Missing is part of learning. In fact, it is necessary. After a while, you realize something surprising. You are still following the conversation, even without understanding everything. And that is the moment you grow. Not when everything is clear, but when confusion no longer stops you. Lesson 56. You sit down again, this time choosing silence on purpose. No distractions, no rush. Just a quiet space where you can truly listen. You close your eyes and hear a simple sentence. I like coffee. At first, it sounds easy. But today, you go deeper. You don't just hear the words. You build a picture. You imagine a warm cup in your hands. You see the steam rising slowly. Maybe you remember the smell, strong and comforting. Suddenly, the sentence is no longer just sound. It becomes an experience. This is how powerful listening works. When you connect sound to real life, your brain remembers faster and stronger. Words stop being random. They become meaningful. Say it again in your mind. I like coffee. Notice how like connects smoothly between I and coffee. The sentence flows like a small river, not separate drops. Now try changing it. I like tea. I like music. Each time your brain builds a new picture. Each time your listening becomes richer. You are not memorizing. You are living the language. And when you live it, you don't forget it. Lesson 57. Today, you notice something important about yourself. When you feel relaxed, your understanding improves. Words feel clearer. Sentences stay longer in your mind. But when you feel stressed or nervous, everything becomes harder. Even simple phrases feel confusing. This is not a weakness. This is how the brain works. Stress creates noise inside your mind, and that noise blocks your ability to listen clearly. So today, you make a quiet decision. You will not fight English. You will not chase it with pressure. Instead, you will allow it to come to you. You sit comfortably and listen to a short sentence again. Nothing special, nothing difficult. But this time, your body is calm. Your breathing is slow. And something surprising happens. The sentence feels easier than before. You begin to understand that listening is not only a skill, it is also a state of mind. The calmer you are, the better you hear. From now on, every time you listen, you remind yourself, no stress, no fear, just sound. And understanding will follow. This small change will create a big difference in your journey. Lesson 58. You hear a longer question today. Where are you going? At first, it feels like too much. 4 words, moving quickly, blending together. It almost feels like one long sound again. But you already know what to do. You don't panic. You slow it down in your mind. Where are you going? One piece at a time. Suddenly, it becomes simple. Now you listen again, but this time, you notice something new. The sentence has direction. It is asking about movement, about a place, about a future action. Listening is not just hearing words. It is understanding intention. Repeat the question softly, then answer it. I am going home. Listen to your answer. Feel how natural it sounds. You are now doing something powerful. You are not only listening, you are responding. Even if it is just in your mind, this creates a connection between listening and speaking. This is how real communication begins, not by memorizing long lists, but by understanding simple, meaningful exchanges. And step by step, sentence by sentence, your confidence grows stronger. Lesson 59. Something quiet is happening inside you now. You may not see it clearly, but you can feel it. Your ears are changing. Your brain is adapting. Even when you think you are not improving, something is growing. Today, you listen again. Maybe to the same sentences. Maybe to a simple conversation. And you notice. You recognize words faster than before. Not perfectly, but more easily. This is the hidden power of listening practice. Growth does not always feel dramatic. It is slow, steady, and often invisible. But it is real. Many learners stop because they don't see quick results. But you are different now. You understand that learning is happening beneath the surface, like roots growing under the ground before a tree appears. So today, you trust the process. Even if you understand only a little, you keep listening. Even if you feel unsure, you continue. Because deep down, your brain is building something strong. And one day, without warning, you will realize you understand more than you ever expected. That day is coming, and it begins with this quiet trust. Lesson 60. You pause for a moment and think about where you started. The first time you listened, everything felt unclear. The sounds were unfamiliar. The sentences felt fast and distant. But now, something has changed. You can understand small parts. You can follow simple ideas. You are no longer completely lost. This may seem small, but it is not. This is progress. Real progress. Say a simple sentence again. I understand a little. Listen to it carefully. Let it stay in your mind. This sentence is important, not because of the words, but because of the truth inside it. Understanding a little is the beginning of understanding more. Every fluent speaker once stood exactly where you are now. They heard small pieces before they heard full conversations. So instead of focusing on what you don't know, you focus on what you do know. You build confidence from it. Today you don't say, I can't understand. Today you say, I am starting to understand. And that one change in thinking is the moment your journey truly begins to transform. Lesson 61. Today, you listen to something new. A simple story. Not just a sentence, but a small moment in someone's life. You hear, a boy walks to a store. At first, it feels basic, but you don't rush past it. You slow down and let the story grow in your mind. You imagine the boy. Maybe he is young, maybe he is quiet. You see the road under his feet. You feel the movement as he walks. The word store becomes a place, not just a sound. This is where listening begins to change. You are no longer hearing isolated words. You are building scenes. English is turning into pictures in your mind. You listen again. This time, you notice how walks to a store connects smoothly. The sentence flows naturally, like someone speaking in real life. Stories are powerful because they give meaning to language. They help your brain organize information. Instead of remembering separate words, you remember a moment, a situation, a feeling. As you continue, you realize something important. Listening is easier when it tells a story, because your brain is designed to follow stories. And now, English is no longer just something you study. It is something you experience. Lesson 62. You listen to the same story again. At first, it may feel repetitive. You already heard it. You already understood some of it. So why listen again? But this time, something surprising happens. You notice more. A word you missed before becomes clear. A small detail stands out. The sentence feels smoother, more familiar. This is the power of repetition. Not boring repetition, but meaningful repetition. Every time you listen again, your brain strengthens its understanding. It fills the gaps. It builds confidence. Think of it like walking the same path every day. The first time, you move slowly, carefully. The second time, it feels easier. By the third time, it becomes natural. Listening works the same way. Each repetition removes confusion and replaces it with clarity. You are not repeating because you are weak. You are repeating because you are building strength. So today, you listen again without frustration, without impatience. You allow the process to work, and little by little, the story that once felt distant begins to feel completely familiar. Lesson 63. Today, something small but powerful happens. You hear a full sentence, and you understand it instantly. No stopping, no translating, no effort. Just understanding. For a moment you pause. It feels different, almost surprising. You didn't chase the meaning. It came to you naturally. This is a turning point. It may only be one sentence, but it represents something much bigger. It shows that your brain is beginning to recognize English automatically. Say the sentence again in your mind. Listen to how smoothly it moves. Notice how your understanding feels quicker, lighter. This is how fluency begins. Not with long speeches or perfect grammar, but with small moments of natural understanding. Moments where you don't feel like a learner, you feel like a listener. You hold on to this feeling, not as pressure, but as motivation. If one sentence can become easy, then another can too. And then another. Step by step, your understanding will grow. And one day, these small moments will connect, forming something strong, something natural, something real. Lesson 64. Today, you hear a different voice. The accent is not exactly the same as before. The rhythm feels slightly different. The pronunciation changes in small ways. At first, it feels uncomfortable. Your brain needs a moment to adjust. You may not understand as easily as before. But instead of feeling discouraged, you stay calm. You remember something important. English is not just one voice. It is spoken by millions of people, each with their own sound, their own rhythm, their own style. You listen carefully. You focus on familiar words. Even if the accent changes, many words remain the same. You begin to catch them, one by one. Slowly, your ears adjust. The voice becomes clearer. What felt strange begins to feel normal. This is an important step in your journey, because real-world English is not perfect or uniform. It is diverse. By exposing yourself to different voices, you make your listening stronger, more flexible, more real. Today, you don't avoid difficulty. You accept it. You grow with it. And that makes you a stronger listener than before. Lesson 65. You sit with a notebook today, not to write everything you hear, but to focus your attention. You listen to a short sentence. This time, you choose carefully what to write. You don't try to capture every word. That would create pressure. Instead, you write only what you clearly understand. Maybe one word, maybe two, maybe a short phrase. This small action changes your mindset. Instead of focusing on what you miss, you focus on what you catch. And that builds confidence. You listen again. You add one more word, then another. Slowly, your notes grow. Not perfectly, but honestly. This is how real learning looks. Not complete from the beginning, but improving step by step. You look at your notebook and realize something important. These are not just words. These are moments of understanding. Proof that you are progressing. Today, your goal is not perfection. Your goal is clarity, even if it is small. Because every word you truly understand becomes a permanent part of your listening ability. Lesson 66. Today, you hear a sentence that feels simple, but carries quiet power. I want to learn. You pause for a moment, not because it is difficult, but because it feels personal. You repeat it slowly in your mind. I want to learn. Each word lands with meaning. This is not just a sentence you hear. This is a sentence you feel. Listening becomes stronger when it connects to your purpose. When the words you hear reflect your own thoughts, your own goals, your own journey, they stay longer in your mind. They become part of you. Say it again, but this time, say it like you mean it. I want to learn. Listen to your own voice. Notice the intention behind it. Now, when you hear similar sentences in conversations, your brain will recognize them faster. Because they are no longer foreign, they are familiar. This is how listening becomes personal. Not just about understanding others, but about understanding yourself through the language. And today, you realize something important. Your journey is not forced. It is chosen. You are here because you want to learn, and that desire is your strongest advantage. Lesson 67. You begin to notice a shift in how you think about listening. Before, you believed you needed to understand everything. Every word, every sentence, every detail. If you missed something, it felt like failure. But today, something changes. You listen to a conversation and understand only part of it, maybe half. And instead of feeling frustrated, you feel okay. Because even with partial understanding, you still understand the idea. You still follow the direction of the conversation. This is a powerful realization. Listening is not about perfection. It is about connection. Even in your own language, you don't focus on every word. You understand meaning from context, tone, and key phrases. Now, you are doing the same in English. You let go of the pressure to catch everything. You allow yourself to miss words without stopping. And suddenly, listening feels lighter, easier. This is where confidence begins to grow, not from knowing everything, but from being comfortable with not knowing everything. And that comfort allows your learning to move forward, without fear holding it back. Lesson 68. Today, you take your listening outside your usual space. Maybe you are walking. Maybe you are sitting in a different place. Maybe you are simply not in your study mode. And yet, you are still listening. You play a short audio or recall a sentence in your mind. But this time, it feels different. You are not forcing yourself to focus deeply. You are letting the sound exist in the background, just like other sounds in your environment. This is an important step. English is no longer limited to a specific time or place. It is becoming part of your daily life. You realize that learning does not always need full concentration. Sometimes, just being around the language helps your brain adapt naturally. You hear a phrase while doing something else, and you recognize it. That small moment proves something powerful. Your listening is becoming automatic. The more English becomes part of your normal routine, the less it feels like a task. And when something stops feeling like work, it starts becoming a habit. And habits are what create real, lasting progress. Lesson 69. You continue this new approach. Today, you listen while doing something simple. Maybe cooking, cleaning, or organizing your space. Your hands are busy, but your ears are open. At first, you may not catch everything. Your attention is divided. But that's okay. This is not about perfect understanding. This is about exposure. You hear familiar words again. They stand out more easily now. It feels almost natural, like recognizing a friend's voice in a crowd. Slowly, your brain begins to adjust. Even without full focus, you are understanding small parts, and those small parts begin to connect. This is how real-world listening works. People don't always sit quietly and focus on every conversation. They listen while living their lives. Now, you are training your brain for that reality. English is no longer something separate from your daily routine. It is part of your environment, your movement, your actions. And the more you live with the language, the more naturally you begin to understand it. Lesson 70. Today, you notice something new in the conversations you hear. It is not just about words anymore. It is about emotion. You hear people talking, and suddenly, you recognize a feeling. Maybe they are laughing. Maybe they sound excited. Maybe their voice becomes softer, more serious. Even if you don't understand every word, you understand the emotion behind it. And that gives you meaning. This is a deeper level of listening. Because communication is not only about vocabulary, it is about feeling. Tone, rhythm, and energy all carry information. You listen more carefully now, not just to what is being said, but how it is being said. A simple sentence can have different meanings depending on emotion. You begin to feel connected to the conversation, even without full understanding. This is a powerful moment in your journey. Because now, you are not just decoding language, you are experiencing it. And when you can feel a language, you are no longer an outsider to it. You are becoming part of it. Lesson 71. Today, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. You start noticing patterns. Words that once felt random now appear again and again. Simple phrases repeat in different conversations. You hear, I want, I need, let's go. What are you doing? And instead of processing them as new each time, your brain begins to recognize them instantly. This is how real listening becomes faster. Not by learning more and more new words every day, but by becoming deeply familiar with common ones. You listen carefully and realize that English, like any language, has patterns. People use similar structures again and again. And now, your brain is starting to predict what comes next. When you hear, I want, you already expect a noun or action. When you hear, where are you? Your mind prepares for a place or movement. This prediction makes listening easier and quicker. You are no longer reacting slowly. You are anticipating. This is a major shift. It means your brain is no longer just receiving sound. It is actively working with it. And this quiet ability to recognize patterns is one of the strongest signs that your listening skill is growing in the right direction. Lesson 72. Today, you focus on something small but powerful. A short phrase. Let's go. It's simple. Only 2 words. But when you hear it in real conversation, it carries energy, movement, decision. You listen to it again. Let's go. Notice how fast it sounds. Almost like 1 word instead of 2. Let's go. This is natural spoken English. Connected, smooth, efficient. At first, fast speech used to confuse you. But now, instead of feeling lost, you become curious. You slow it down in your mind. Let us go. Then you bring it back to natural speed. This ability to move between slow understanding and fast recognition is what builds strong listening. You realize something important today. English doesn't need to be long or complicated to be meaningful. Even the shortest phrases can carry clear intention. You start noticing these small phrases everywhere. And because they are short, they are easier to remember, easier to recognize, and easier to understand in real time. Sometimes, progress is not about learning more. It is about understanding simple things deeply. And today, a simple phrase becomes a powerful step forward. Lesson 73. Today, you face something that once felt difficult. You listen to audio that feels slightly fast or unclear. Before, this might have made you stop. But now, you approach it differently. You give yourself control. You slow it down, either using a tool or in your mind. When the speed reduces, something changes. Words separate. Sounds become clearer. The sentence begins to make sense. You listen again and again. Each time, your understanding improves. This teaches you an important lesson. Difficulty is not permanent. Sometimes, it is just a matter of speed. By slowing things down, you give your brain time to process, to recognize, to connect. And once you understand it slowly, your brain remembers it when it becomes fast again. You are not avoiding difficulty. You are adjusting it to your level, making it manageable, making it useful. This is smart learning. Not forcing yourself to struggle, but creating the right conditions to grow. And today, what once felt too fast becomes something you can understand, step by step. Lesson 74. Today, you choose something familiar. A voice you have heard before. A speaker whose rhythm you recognize. As you listen, something feels comfortable. You don't need to adjust as much. Your ears already know this voice. This comfort is important because when your brain is familiar with the sound, it works more efficiently. You understand faster, with less effort. You notice that you catch more words than before. Sentences feel smoother. The experience feels easier. This is not coincidence. This is progress. By listening to the same voice regularly, you train your brain to recognize patterns, pronunciation, and rhythm more deeply. At the same time, you are building confidence. Because when something feels familiar, you feel capable. Today, you allow yourself to enjoy this comfort, not as a limit, but as a foundation. Because from this point, you can slowly explore new voices again, stronger, more prepared, more confident. And step by step, your listening world continues to expand. Lesson 75. You pause today and look at your journey so far. Not from the beginning, but from within. You feel the difference. At the start, English listening felt like a challenge, something distant, something difficult. But now, something has changed inside you. You are no longer afraid of listening. You are curious. When you hear English, you don't immediately think, "This is too hard." Instead, you think, "What can I understand here?" That small shift from fear to curiosity is powerful. Because curiosity opens the door to learning. You listen more freely now. You allow yourself to explore, to notice, to experience. You are not perfect. You don't understand everything. But that no longer stops you. This is the halfway point of your journey. And already, you are not the same learner you were before. You have built patience, awareness, confidence, and most importantly, you have built belief. From here, your growth will not just continue, it will accelerate. Because now, you are not just learning English, you are ready for it. Lesson 76. Today, you listen to longer sentences. Not just short phrases, not just simple expressions, but full thoughts that carry more detail. At first, your mind reacts the old way. It feels like too much, too fast. But something inside you is different now. You don't panic. You don't stop the audio immediately. You take a slow breath, and you stay with it. You let the sentence pass once, even if you don't understand everything. Then you listen again. This time, you catch more. A few key words stand out. The structure becomes clearer. You realize that long sentences are not one big block. They are made of smaller parts, just like the short sentences you already understand. So you begin to break them mentally. You focus on the beginning, then the middle, then the end. Piece by piece, the meaning comes together. This is a powerful shift. Because now, length no longer scares you. You understand that listening is not about catching everything at once. It is about staying present, staying patient, and allowing meaning to build slowly. And today, what once felt overwhelming becomes something you can handle. Lesson 77. Today, something new begins to happen inside your mind. As you listen, you don't just receive information, you start responding to it. You hear a question. What are you doing? And without thinking too much, your mind answers, I am studying. This moment is important. Because now, listening is no longer passive. It is active. You are part of the conversation, even if it exists only in your mind. You continue listening. Someone says, let's go outside. And your mind reacts, okay, or maybe not now. This internal response is a sign of real progress. It means your brain is processing English naturally, just like it does with your first language. You are no longer translating everything word by word. You are understanding and reacting in real time. This is how communication truly begins. Not when you speak perfectly, but when you can listen and respond naturally. And today, you take a quiet but powerful step into that world. A world where English is not just heard, but lived. Lesson 78. Today, you notice something interesting. While listening, you realize that sometimes your understanding is not completely correct. Maybe you misunderstand a word. Maybe you guess the meaning differently. Before, this might have discouraged you. But now, your perspective has changed. You don't see mistakes as failure. You see them as part of the learning process. You listen again and correct yourself. The sentence becomes clearer. The meaning adjusts. This process, listening, misunderstanding, and then improving, is how your brain sharpens its ability. You begin to trust this cycle. You allow yourself to be imperfect, because each correction brings you closer to accuracy. Even native listeners misunderstand sometimes. What makes them strong is not perfection, but their ability to adjust quickly. Now, you are building that same skill. Today, you don't fear mistakes. You welcome them, because each one is guiding you forward. And that mindset is what turns a learner into a confident listener. Lesson 79. You return to real conversations today. Voices that are natural, unscripted, flowing freely. At one time, this would have felt overwhelming. But now, you approach it with a different energy. Calm, curious, ready. You listen carefully. You don't try to catch every word. Instead, you focus on the main idea. And something amazing happens. You understand more than before. Not everything, but enough to follow the conversation. Enough to feel connected. You hear familiar phrases. You recognize patterns. Your brain moves faster, more smoothly. This is where your practice begins to show real results. All those small steps, listening slowly, repeating, imagining, relaxing, they are now working together. You are not starting from zero anymore. You are building on a strong foundation. And today, for the first time, real English conversations don't feel impossible. They feel possible. And that feeling is the beginning of true confidence. Lesson 80. You stop for a moment and remember the beginning of your journey. That feeling of confusion, that invisible wall between you and the language. Back then, English felt distant, like something you could hear but not truly understand. But today, something has changed. That wall is no longer there. In its place, there is something else. A door. A door that is slowly opening, showing you that understanding is not out of reach. It is right in front of you, waiting for you to step through. You are not perfect. You still have things to learn. But you are no longer outside the language. You are inside it. You listen, and meaning comes. Maybe not always quickly, maybe not always completely, but it comes. And that changes everything. Because once a door is open, even a little, it can never fully close again. Today, you stand at that door, not as a beginner who is lost, but as a learner who is growing. And from here, your journey only moves forward. Lesson 81. Today, you step into something new. New voices, new topics, new situations. You are no longer staying only with what feels easy or familiar. At first, it feels slightly uncomfortable. The voice is different. The topic is unfamiliar. Maybe they are talking about something you don't usually hear. But you don't step back. You stay with it. You remind yourself that growth lives in new experiences. If you only listen to what you already understand, your progress will slow down. But when you challenge your ears gently, your ability expands. You listen carefully. You don't expect full understanding. You focus on catching ideas, tone, and key words. Slowly, your brain begins to adjust. Even in new situations, you find something familiar. Common phrases, repeated patterns, known sounds. This gives you confidence. Because now, you realize you can handle more than one type of English. Your listening world is no longer small. It is growing wider, more flexible, more real. And today, you prove to yourself that you are ready for that expansion. Lesson 82. Something powerful begins to happen today. You start understanding without translating every word into your native language. Before, your mind worked like a bridge. English came in, your brain translated it, and then you understood. It worked, but it was slow. Now, something changes. You hear a sentence, and meaning appears directly. No translation, no extra step, just understanding. At first, it happens only sometimes. A short sentence, a familiar phrase. But even that is enough to show you what is possible. You begin to trust this feeling. You don't force translation anymore. You allow your brain to process naturally. This is a big step toward fluency. Because real listening does not depend on translation. It depends on direct connection between sound and meaning. You are building that connection now, quietly, naturally. And the more you allow this to happen, the faster and smoother your listening will become. Today, you take one more step away from thinking about English, and one step closer to simply understanding it. Lesson 83. Today, you notice something different. You are no longer listening only for meaning. You are starting to enjoy the sound of English itself. The rhythm, the flow, the way words connect. It begins to feel interesting, even beautiful. You hear a sentence and notice how smoothly it moves. Some words are soft, some are strong. Some are quick, some are stretched slightly. It feels almost like music. This is a special moment in your journey. Because when you begin to enjoy the sound of a language, learning becomes natural. You are no longer forcing yourself to listen. You want to listen. You replay a sentence, not because you didn't understand it, but because you liked how it sounded. This is a new kind of motivation, one that comes from inside you. And this changes everything. Because when you enjoy the process, you stay consistent, you stay curious, you keep going without pressure. Today, English is not just something you are trying to learn, it is something you are beginning to appreciate. Lesson 84. You continue your journey with something simple but powerful. Daily listening. Not long hours, not heavy effort. Just a few minutes every day, with full attention and a calm mind. At first, it may not feel like much. 5 minutes doesn't seem enough to create big change. But you begin to understand something important. Consistency is stronger than intensity. When you listen every day, your brain stays connected to the language. It doesn't forget. It doesn't reset. It keeps building slowly and steadily. You notice that when you skip days, it feels harder to return. But when you stay consistent, even in small ways, everything feels smoother. Today, you make a quiet promise to yourself. You don't need to do more. You just need to continue. Because progress is not created in one big moment. It is created in small daily actions that add up over time. And your daily listening is building something stronger than you can see right now. Lesson 85. Today, you face something that once made you uncomfortable. A fast speaker. The words come quickly. The rhythm feels tight. There's little pause between sentences. For a moment, the old feeling tries to return. That sense of, this is too fast. But now, you're different. You don't stop. You don't give up. You stay with the sound. You remind yourself you don't need to understand everything. You just need to follow what you can. You catch a word, then another. You recognize a phrase. The meaning starts to form, even if it is incomplete. And something important happens. You survive the speed. You realize that fast English is not impossible. It is just a higher level of the same patterns you already know. Today is not about perfect understanding. It is about building courage. Every time you face speed without fear, your brain becomes stronger, more adaptable, more ready. And one day, what feels fast today will feel normal. And you will wonder why it ever felt difficult at all. Lesson 86. Today, you pause and notice something deeply important. You are no longer the same learner. In the beginning, you were careful, uncertain, and sometimes afraid of what you would hear. Every sentence felt like a challenge. Every conversation felt like a test. But now, your reaction is different. When you hear English, you don't freeze. You don't step back. You stay present. You listen. You may not understand everything, but you don't need to. That pressure is gone. In its place, there is calm confidence. You trust yourself more. You trust your ears. You trust the process that brought you here. This transformation did not happen in one day. It happened through every small step you took, every time you listened, even when it was difficult. And today, you can feel the result. You are no longer just trying to learn English. You are becoming someone who can live with it. Lesson 87. Today, you do something powerful. You share your learning with someone else. Maybe it's a friend, a classmate, or even just someone curious. You explain a simple phrase. You repeat a sentence. You help them hear what you have learned to hear. And something unexpected happens. As you teach, your own understanding becomes clearer. You listen more carefully. You notice details you didn't see before. You become more aware of how English works. Teaching, even in a small way, strengthens your listening. Because now, you are not only receiving language, you are guiding it. You realize that your journey is not only personal, it can also inspire others. And this gives your learning a deeper meaning. Today, you are not just a learner. You are also becoming a guide, even if only in small ways. Lesson 88. Today, you feel something you may not have expected at the beginning. Pride. Not because you are perfect, not because you understand everything, but because you didn't stop. There were moments when listening felt difficult, moments when you doubted yourself, moments when it would have been easy to quit. But you didn't. You stayed. You listened. You continued. And now you can see the result of that persistence. You understand more. You feel more comfortable. You are more confident than before. This feeling of pride is important because it reminds you that progress is not about talent. It is about consistency. You didn't need to be perfect. You just needed to keep going. And today, you see the value of that decision. You are building something real, something strong, something that belongs to you. Lesson 89. You return to listening to stories today, but this time, the experience feels different. Before you focused on understanding the words. Now, you feel the story. You hear emotion in the voice. You understand the situation more clearly. You can imagine the scene with more detail. The language no longer feels like a barrier. It feels like a bridge connecting you to the story. You are not just decoding sentences, you are experiencing meaning. This is a deeper level of listening. One where understanding is not only in the mind, but also in the feeling. You realize that language is not only about information, it is about connection. And today, you are connected. Not perfectly, not completely, but truly. Lesson 90. Today, something small but exciting happens. You understand a joke. Maybe it is simple, maybe it is short, but you understand why it is funny. This moment is special because humor is one of the hardest parts of any language. It depends on timing, tone, and shared understanding. And yet, you are able to follow it. You smile, maybe even laugh. And in that moment, you realize how far you have come. You are not just understanding basic meaning anymore. You are understanding intention, emotion, and subtlety. This is real listening. And today, you experience it in a way that feels light, natural, and rewarding. Lesson 91. Today, you notice a quiet change inside your mind. When you hear English, you don't immediately think in your native language anymore. Instead, you begin to think in English sounds. You hear a sentence, and your mind processes it directly. You respond in simple English without translating. This shift is powerful because it means English is no longer external. It is becoming part of your thinking. You are building a new way to understand the world, and it is happening naturally, without force. Today, you are not just learning English. You are thinking in it. Lesson 92. You begin to notice that your confidence is growing beyond listening. In small situations, maybe hearing someone speak, maybe watching something in English, you feel less nervous, more open. This confidence spreads into other areas of your life, because learning something difficult has made you stronger. You trust yourself more. You believe in your ability to improve. Listening was just the beginning. The real change is happening inside you. And today, you recognize that growth. Lesson 93. Today, you listen, and the words stay. Before, English felt like something that came and went quickly. You heard it, but it disappeared before you could hold it. Now, it stays in your mind longer. You understand? And the meaning remains. You don't have to chase every word. It comes to you more naturally. This is a sign of deep progress. Your brain is no longer struggling to keep up. It is moving with the language, and that makes listening feel smooth, not stressful. Lesson 94. You realize something clearly today. Listening is no longer difficult in the way it once was. It may still challenge you sometimes, but it does not overwhelm you. You have tools now. You have experience. You have confidence. You know how to slow things down. You know how to catch key ideas. You know how to stay calm. This changes everything, because difficulty is no longer something that stops you. It is something you know how to handle, and that makes you strong. Lesson 95. You remember the very beginning, that quiet moment, that simple sentence, "I am learning English." You say it again today, but now it sounds different, stronger, more certain, because now it is not just a statement. It is your reality. You are learning, you are improving, you are growing, and you can hear that truth in your own voice. Lesson 96. Today, you listen to everyday conversations. Simple, real-life situations. Ordering food, asking for directions, talking about daily plans. And you understand. Maybe not perfectly, but clearly enough to follow. This is what your journey was preparing you for. Real-world listening. And now, you are ready for it. Lesson 97. You feel something new. Excitement. Not fear of what you don't understand, but curiosity about what you will understand next. You look forward to listening. You want to explore more voices, more stories, more situations. This excitement is powerful because it keeps you moving forward naturally. Lesson 98. You continue listening, not because you have to, but because you enjoy it. It is no longer a task on your list. It is part of your life. And that is the moment learning becomes effortless. Lesson 99. You understand something important today. This journey does not end here. There is always more to learn, more to hear, more to experience. But now, you are ready for that journey, because you have built the most important skill, the ability to keep going. Lesson 100. You return to where you started. A quiet moment, a simple space. You listen to English again, but everything feels different now. The sounds are clearer. The meaning is closer. The fear is gone. You are not perfect, but you are real. You understand. You connect. You continue. And that is what matters. Now, your journey stands in front of you, not as a challenge, but as an open path. You didn't just learn how to listen. You learned how to stay patient, how to stay consistent, how to believe in your progress. So here is your next step. Simple, but powerful. Tomorrow, listen again. Even if it's just a few minutes, even if it feels small, because small steps, repeated daily, create unstoppable growth. And one day, without even realizing when it happened, you will hear English, and it will feel like your own.